All right, everybody. Minor Obsessions back with you. Sean Newton here with Scott Lieberman, and we're on the hype train.
Woo!
The Charlotte 49ers are rolling right now. This is our football game preview for what should be an easy contest against UTEP coming up this Friday. Before we dive in and get Scott's thoughts on football, just wanted to mention real quick, women's soccer won the first Conference USA tournament game yesterday and are headed for the number one seed Florida Atlantic Owls on Friday, November 8th at 5:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus. So be sure you tune in if you are available, because the first game was exciting. I imagine the next game's going to be just as exciting. And then men's soccer, the Conference USA tournament starts next week. So keep your eyes out for soccer while we're talking about it. Now over to you, Scott. What do you think about this UTEP matchup?
W baby, let's go. UTEP's 1-7. We're 4-5. We're trying to get back to 500 with 3 games remaining in the season, and the line has been moving in Charlotte's favor. More people are putting money on us. So the line opened for this game at -11.5. We're big time favorites for this on the road at UTEP, and it has moved now to -13 as of Thursday morning. We'll see if it moves into 2 touchdowns or higher. So Charlotte is a 13-point favorite as of right now, and the over-under is 58 points.
58 points.
UTEP is 1-7. They won their first game of the season, and then they're on a 7-game losing streak. So they are legitimately one of the worst teams in the country. Their win was a barely win against Houston Baptist, who I don't even think is D1.
It's definitely not. Well, I mean, they're probably FCS.
Sorry, whatever app really is. And then the rest of their season has been getting smoked by everyone. So hopefully we can continue that trend, go to 5-5, have our bye next week, and then have a big game the weekend before Thanksgiving against Marshall, which hopefully everyone comes out for.
Yeah, I was honestly looking for some statistics to analyze here on key matchups, things to look for, what UTEP was doing, and it's not very pretty. Didn't have anything really worth calling out. Looks like they're scoring below 20 points on average and giving up above 30 points on average, which is never a good sign. And some people out there might say, well, kind of a trap game for us, right? You go in against a terrible team and come out the other side with a loss. I would say that's a lot less likely in college. In college, the disparity is there where a good team is really that much better than a bad team. A great team is even better than a good team. It's not like the NFL where on any given day they've got enough talent to beat anybody. There are truly teams that just don't have the talent available to handle teams at their level. Could be bad recruiting classes, could be some injuries that do it, but you got to have the key pieces in place to be able to work around, and seems like this year UTEP does not have it. So I'm looking for us to go to 500, 5-5 for the season. That'll tie us with last year's win total with 2 games left, which is a good spot to be.
You know what's really interesting too, looking at all this? How much better Conference USA East is than Conference USA West.
Yeah.
Like, Conference USA West has 2 teams with no wins in the conference, UTEP being one of them with 1 win, and then Rice with none of them and 0-9 for the season. While our only really bad team is Old Dominion at 0-5 in the conference and 1-8 for the season.
And we get to close out the season against them, so...
Yeah, totally. So our one remaining tough game is Marshall, who's on top of Conference USA East. Tied with Florida Atlantic, who really stuck it to us. So that's a tough game. But otherwise, yeah, the season looks pretty good. This game against UTEP is kind of, last week was our back against the wall. We had to win the game. This game is, if we lose this game, we don't deserve to be bowl eligible anyway. So if we lose this game, then it's time to, I don't want to say give up on the season, but you should be pretty disappointed. And you know, we'll try to beat Marshall. We'll have a week to think about it. But we really should win this game, go to 500, and have a 2-game season remaining where we really can to make some noise. And potentially be in the Belk Bowl, as projections say. If those projections stay still and we win out the season, why not?
Yeah, well, and that's actually a good point. So we didn't really explain that last time, and some people like to hear thoughts rather than spend time looking them up online. But a lot of you might be saying, Belk Bowl, that's an ACC team versus a SEC team. How the heck can we get in there? Well, really what it boils down to is if one of those conferences don't have enough bowl eligible teams, they'll fill it with group of 5 conference teams. So I haven't dug into the statistics as to why CBS Sports thinks we're going to be that group of 5 team to fill it, but I love that.
It's called selling
And
tickets, Sean.
yeah, that's fair, and that's how it's possible. So their current projections show that the SEC is not going to have enough teams to fill the bowls that they have committed to, and that leaves the door open for us to come in and steal a home game away from Virginia Tech potentially if things stay the way
And
they
now
are.
to clarify for everyone, 6-6 is bowl eligible, 500 record, or do you? Okay.
Yes, it is. It is bowl eligible, but it doesn't guarantee you a bowl. So we could go 6-6. The rest of Conference USA has enough teams to fill the bowl games, and we're the bottom of that list. Then we could still not have a bowl. But I think right now it's looking okay for us. There's what 4 or 5. You had the stand-ins up there.
Yeah. So right now in Conference USA, there is 7 teams above 500.
Yep.
And then North Texas is in a similar situation to us.
And it goes by conference record though. So.
Oh, sorry. I was just looking at overall. Conference record, those same teams are in it, except North Texas is also in it. So 8 teams.
So 8 teams counting us,
Excluding us.
excluding us. So there's 8 teams ahead of us.
Yes.
So that's where things get difficult, and you really need either teams to fall off or other bowls to need fill-ins. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bowls that have Conference USA committed spot in them. So we're right on the cusp of that. Obviously, we've got to stay in that top 9 spot to be eligible for one of those bowls to start with, and be 6-6 or better. So there's a few things that need to happen, but this year seems like a reasonable year where if we win against UTEP and we win against Old Dominion, which both those things should happen, that a bowl is in our future.
But it would be a lot higher percentage if we could get that win against Marshall in the middle.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you win them against Marshall, that all but solidifies your chances there. And not saying that's not doable. We'll talk about that one during our pregame preview there, but just saying the odds are looking pretty good for us as long as we can come off this complete team win that we had last week against Middle Tennessee and keep that rolling into a couple easier games.
So we didn't talk about the spread or our highlight players. Sean, who are you looking at on the offensive and defensive side for the Niners?
Good question. Last week, took the offensive line. They really showed up. Chris Reynolds even brought him into the press conference to say how appreciative he was of that, of their ability to protect him for the day. This week, I'm going to go Aaron McAllister. I think he showed a lot last week, having Benny go out last minute and have to fill the starting role. Was really impressed with what I saw, and I think even if Benny's back at full strength, it's worth noting that he's constantly putting up, 60 to 90 yards of rushing, even though Benny's still doing his thing. I'm looking for him to have a couple breakout runs that result in some touchdowns this week.
Yeah, I am going to go in the same vein, but a little different. I'm not going with Benny, even though I think he'll come back and hopefully have a decent game, but maybe he won't get as many touches. I'm going Ishan Figger, and I think he's going to have a nice game and get a little bit more touches. I know he didn't quite get as many as you may have expected with Benny on the sidelines, but I think this is going to be one of those rollover games where everyone's getting a lot of PT, especially your third stringers, and I see him coming in and getting close to 100 yards rushing and a touchdown or two.
Yeah, and you could call him a third stringer, but he's in there every game. He's the third on the depth chart, but first in our hearts. I love the way he runs, and I love the ability that we have of having three different backs you can throw out there, and all of them to get yards for you. He's averaging 5.8 yards per carry this year, so nothing to sneeze at
And
too.
they're all very different.
They
It
are.
kind of reminds me, and I apologize to everyone being a Giants fan, but it kind
Oh
of reminds me of
God.
that Giants Earth, Wind, and Fire with Brandon
Oh
Jacobs,
God.
Derek Ward, and Ahmad Bradshaw.
Oh
Because
God.
they're all very different like that.
For everybody listening to the podcast that needs to Google who those people are, don't feel bad because they weren't really special. They just got a nickname.
Nah, Ahmad Bradshaw was pretty good.
Okay, one out of three get in the nickname zone there, but the Giants homer knows them all, of course.
Panther fans probably remember Derek Ward too, but I regress. I like Ishan Figger. I think he's kind of in that Ahmad Bradshaw realm of that team where he's the kind of that afterthought, and when you get him in there, it's a totally different ball game. He's incredible. So I see a nice game from him on the offensive side. I think there's going to be a lot of us pounding the rock. Reynolds will probably do what he does, but I think that will be limited because I think we'll be up and the running game will be working, and why stop what our bread and butter is? I see us with 300 plus rushing yards in this game as a team.
Fair. Defensive side of the ball, I'm going to take who I thought was definitely one of the top performers last week, Nafis Lyon. Punt return wise, I thought he looked really good. He had 45 yards returning punts against Middle Tennessee, and I thought at the corner position he did really good in coverage last week. Had a fumble recovery too with a sick alley-oop dunk for the takeaway can. I'd like to see him roll that into another good week in a row.
All right, well, since I did somewhat of a stretch on the offensive side, I'm going to not stretch it too hard here. I'm not going to go with the usual Alex Highsmith, but I'm going to go with Marquavius Gibbs. Let me correct that. He leads our team in tackles by a significant amount. He has 22 more than everyone else, 72 total tackles. I see that trend continuing, a solid 14, 15 tackles. I think our defense isn't going to be on the field a lot, but they are going to be on the field a lot and having to make plays because UTEP will be down by so much that they're going to be out there a lot, throwing the ball and trying, and it's going to give opportunity to get some tackles.
Important to note, too, we didn't call him out as one of our players, but since Benny missed last game, he's still 28 yards rushing away from 3,000 in his career. So that should be a record if he is able to suit up and go this week, that he crushes and gets beyond that 3,000 mark, which will be a huge accomplishment for him.
Yeah, I'm going to pre-congratulate Benny on a great 3,000 mark and hope to see him run a lot over 3,000 for our remaining 2 regular season games and hopefully an incredible bowl game for him that leads to a really fun April with a draft selection potentially.
Yep, that's fair. Also think that this week we are primed to continue to climb the Conference USA ranks in offensive categories. Currently first in rushing offense, fourth in scoring offense. That should go up this week, hopefully. Time of possession, we're in first, and passing efficiency, we're in third. So I feel like possible after this week, we're coming out in second or better in all those categories. Same with Benny. He's still, even after missing last week, first for all-purpose yards per game, second in rushing yards total, second in rushing yards per game, and second in total TDs, fourth in rushing TDs. So a lot of opportunity there for him to take over some of those spots back into first this week.
All right, well, let's put a bow on it. Let's talk the spread real quick and wrap this bad boy up. So it's 13.5. It started at 11, so it's moved up 2 points or so. Or sorry, it's 13, not 13. It'll go to 13. It started at 11.5. It moved to 13. So Charlotte is favored by 13 points, and the over-under is 58. Sean, you've been right. You're 4-0 the last 2 weeks.
I wasn't going to brag about it, but thank you.
I'm just shooting 500, so I'll let the master go first and see if I can catch up here.
Not just was I right, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on it because I can't remember that long ago, but I'm pretty sure my score prediction was fairly close last game too.
Yes, I think it was. I think the final score of the game was 34-14, I believe, or 34-20, and I think you predicted 35-20, maybe, something like that. Either way, you were in the ballpark. But hey, You regress. Give us a score for this game.
Oh, man. It's tough. So you said the spread's 13?
It has moved to 13. It's moved up 1.5. It could have changed by the time you're listening to this. This is Thursday morning. So we've got 2 more days for people to throw more money on it, including me and Sean. And we are, when we put money down, usually the line moves about a point. So
I don't know who you're talking about there. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the under is a lock because I just don't. After last week's win, I think we're going to put up points, but I think we're going to keep them from putting up many points at all. So I think that under is a lock for sure, and I think that our scoring is similar to last week because this is a worse defensive team, but Middle Tennessee really trashed it up last week anyway. So I'm going to go and say we get 38-10.
That's really funny because that's legitimately the score in my head that I was getting ready to say.
38-10?
38-10, 100% was the score I was going to say.
Ooh! Maybe I was catching those waves.
Yeah, I don't know if I should stick with that now, if I should go opposite. I definitely think
go
the
all
under.
In. Let's just stick with it. 38-10.
I certainly think the under is a lock, and Charlotte is a lock. I think Charlotte money line is going to cost you a lot because we're such a big favorite. But I think if you can get it under 14 points, definitely take it. If you can get over 14 points, definitely still take it. It's 38-10, ladies and gentlemen. Minor obsession in sync. So hopefully Sean stays at 6-0.
That's what I was going to say. Smart for you to just take my pick lately. So I mean,
I'm telling you though, 38-10
I believe
was in my
you.
head the
I'm all
entire
in.
time.
I'm all in. That means it's got to be right.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be right. So feel good about that. Get your money out there. 49ers with a big W. Get back to 500. Have a nice off week to enjoy, relax, study some film tape. Big game against Marshall, and then hopefully another lock the following week. And we're going to be going bowling in December. Fingers crossed. Right? I don't think there's anything that we would be in January.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Well, although the Belk Bowl's like New Year's Eve, so
yeah,
if that
but
comes
still
true,
December.
It's kind of January. Yeah.
Well, remember, follow us on social media. We'll be back on Tuesday to talk about all the fun stuff. This game, the basketball that's getting going. Big game against Davidson on Tuesday night. So make sure you come out to that as well. Sean, anything else from you?
No. Until then, like always, we're wearing green.
And go Niners. Let's go.